I just want to say this. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Do folks know Neil deGrasse Tyson? You're supposed to know him. He's like hot, amazing, right? He's the great physicist and scientist, and we're now supposed to listen to everything he has to say about politics because he's smart. He's so smart. Neil deGrasse Tyson, this is what he tweeted out earlier this afternoon. Quote, in the past 48 hours, the USA horrifically lost 34 people to mass shootings, but in a typical 48 hours, 500 are lost due to medical errors, 300 to flu, 250 to suicide, 200 to car accidents. Often, emotions respond more to spectacle than data. This is why people hate smart people. I'm sorry. Like, I'm usually the one condemning anti-intellectualism. I'm usually the one condemning anti-intellectualism. But come on, right? Thank you, Neil. We're all so impressed with how smart you are. All of us that are mourning the fact that people are dying, all of us that are, that are upset and afraid to go to public places, all of us who are worried about our kids going to school. Well, on Romulus, we have no such fears. You see, we are more afraid of the flu, right? We are more afraid of the flu on Romulus. We don't have those petty emotions that you normal people have. We are scientists. We are educated. I mean, come on, right? Come on, okay? Seriously, right? I mean, it's this arrogance, it's like, oh, well, you probably are worried about it, but I have looked at statistics, and I, being smarter than you and not having any emotions, live long and prosper, have discovered that actually there are 500 medical errors that kill people each weekend and 300 flus, so I have no feelings. On Romulus, we have no feelings, live long and prosper. It's silly. Come on. Come on, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't like medical errors, right? It's important to keep these things in, but come on. This is why people hate smart people, right? That arrogance, right? People are upset for a reason, Neil. People are upset for a reason. People are upset, right? They're upset about what's happening. They're upset about the recurring pattern of mass shootings in the United States. That doesn't mean we're stupid. That doesn't mean we're inferior to you. That doesn't mean we're just not as smart as you are. We're worried about a problem in our country, okay? And I know you're smarter than all of us, and you are superior, and you have no emotion. And come on, okay? I'm having fun here. I like a lot of what he says. There's a lot of things he says that are great, but seriously, didn't appreciate the tweet, not what we need to hear, What else is new, folks? But back to that point, you talk about mental health, okay? And this is what needs to be said. This is what needs to be said, okay? This is what needs to be said. All right, if you think about the time in your life that you were the happiest, and think about it right now. It was the time in your life when there was progress taking place. People tend to be happy about progress. When you feel like you're moving ahead in your career, when you feel like life is getting better, when you're getting married, when you're having kids, when you're moving up at your job, when you're getting things done, when you're accomplishing something, when you're moving ahead, that is when people feel good. It's true. That is when people feel good. Maybe it's not economic. Kinky is saying she's happiest when she was the poorest. And that may be true. Maybe it's not economic. But it's when you feel like you're accomplishing something. When you feel like your life is moving forward. When you feel like you are moving ahead. When you are looking to the sky. That is when you're the happiest. Right? It's just a fact. That, if you look at it, that is when you are the happiest. When you feel like things are moving ahead. When you believe that tomorrow might be better than today. Not necessarily, but you have a belief that tomorrow is going to be better than today. You're happy. Right? That tends to be how the human mind works. There are certainly outliers. There are some people that, I'm generalizing here. We all have unique circumstances in our lives, but when you believe that tomorrow will be better than today, that's when you're happy in your life. And now, at the risk of perhaps bringing up some negative feelings in people. Let's talk about the opposite. People that are depressed. People that are depressed, what are they generally feeling like when they're depressed? They're generally feeling like there isn't hope for tomorrow. Like things are not going well. I think that the most thorough case study, let me back that up, the most literary case study of the depressed mind is a work called Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Great work of literature, and it is about depression. It's about a depressed man. Right? Hamlet. And no, I've made a video. Hamlet is not the Lion King. But we'll talk about that later. So the story of Hamlet, right? Hamlet is mourning the loss of his father, and a ghost visits him and informs him that his father did not die of natural causes, that his father had poison poured into his ear and was actually assassinated by his uncle. And this is a curse. This is knowledge he did not want. And it taints everything. Because now, instead of just mourning the loss of his father from natural causes, now he's mourning the fact that he now knows something that no one else knows, which is that his father was actually killed. And it proceeds to drive Hamlet insane. It drives him over the edge. He can't deal with it, right? He knows something about the world around him that he shouldn't know, and he can't deal with it, and it drives him over the edge, and everything in his world is suddenly tainted by this fact that he's become aware of, and he tries not to believe it, and he sets up ways that it cannot be true. Right? He goes as far as like getting some actors to like perform the assassination of his father in a way that will like upset the king if he actually did it. You know, the play is the thing that shall affect the conscience of the king. He goes out of his way. He's like, I don't want this to be true. And he ends up stabbing somebody through a curtain and killing them. The father of his beloved is then Ophelia kills herself. You know, his girlfriend, who's supposed to marry, commits suicide. And ultimately, Hamlet ends up, having like a suicidal duel, and everybody dies. And the stage ends with everyone dying. It's an awful tragedy. But what it's based on is that Hamlet, through this knowledge that he didn't need to know, through being told, through becoming aware of something, that throws his entire worldview to shreds, he can no longer function. That's depression, right? I'll actually read to you. And he expresses how he feels, that he can no longer look at the world. He can no longer look at the world and see beauty. He says, I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all customs of exercises, and it goes so heavenly with my disposition. This goodly frame, the earth seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air look you, this brave or hanging firmament, this majestical roof, fretted with golden fire, why it appeareth no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. Man delights not me, no, nor woman, neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. He's unable to enjoy the good things in life because he's cursed with knowledge. And that drives him to become murderous and suicidal. And that's what the play is about. His worldview is centered around believing something. He learns that this is not true, and everything goes crazy, and everything falls apart. I feel like, now forgive me, this is, I might be a stretch. I feel like that is the psychology of the white nationalist killer.
The white nationalist killer grows up believing that America is the greatest country in the world. And it's an amazing country. We have the best system. Nothing could go wrong. This is the greatest country ever, and it's amazing, and we have the best way of doing everything, and our economy is invincible, and we fight in wars, and we liberate people, and it's a beautiful, and now know, like we all know, right? We all Americans know the country was founded on the genocide of Native Americans. It was. The country was founded on the genocide of Native Americans. The country became wealthy through something called the African slave trade. This country bombed and killed millions of people in Vietnam. This country bombed and killed millions of people in Korea. This country has overthrown democratically elected leaders all across the planet. And on top of all of that, our standard of living is declining, right? And young people are seeing their standard of living go down. They're stuck in a cycle of low-wage, short service sector jobs. If you grew up with this mythology that America is just the greatest country in the world, it does no wrong things, it's just an amazing country, all the other countries are shitholes compared to America, you know, America is great, America is good, capitalism is amazing, everything. I mean, if you grew up believing that, right? If you grew up believing that, and you enter adulthood into the United States as it currently exists, and you start to realize all the things are not true, it leads you to just, you go crazy. I mean, and that's what I feel like these crazy white nationalist guys are doing, right? This is, they cannot, you know, someone says they swallowed the red pill, and that's what these white nationalists call it. They call it taking the red pill. Well, it's suddenly realizing that, I'll quote Hamlet, that something is rotten in the state of Denmark. In their case, something is rotten in the state of Texas. Something is rotten in the state of Kansas. Something is rotten in the state of Utah. Something is rotten in the state of Minneapolis, or I don't know, of Maine, of Wisconsin, right? And they can't deal with it. And why can't they deal with it? Because no one can explain it to them. Right? There's no left ideology. And what passes for left ideology doesn't explain it to them. They are totally confused. The worldview that they were raised with has been debunked. They now know, they have this cursed knowledge, and they can't make any sense of it. And that is the insanity of young, white, millennial males. That's what's going on here, folks, and I think you can learn it from Hamlet. Now, people are going to accuse me of sympathizing with these people. I don't. Let me repeat that. I don't. And the ideology that the insanity that they come up with about, you know, all of that, you know, is crazy and it's nuts, and they completely go off the hinge. But, you know, and then in many cases, some of them are committing mass acts of violence and terrorism. But I believe the underlying insanity is Hamlet, right? It's that they have knowledge that they don't know what to do with. Must be said, right? Hate me for saying it. You know, I'm sure I've offended a shit ton of people here. Wow, I'm swearing like crazy today. What is with me? I'm swearing like a sailor. But it needs to be said, right? That this was, you know, I think that that's what we're understanding here. This is Hamlet. This is Hamlet. This is a generation of white American males who live in conservative areas experiencing Hamlet.